everybody, welcome to our very last day of curbside camp. Today we are going to be making some nature sun catchers, and to do this activity all you really need is some contact paper. We've given you quite a bit of it, so you might be able to make more than one sun catcher. Some mason jar lids, some string, a marker, some scissors, and I'm going to use some tape just to make it a little bit easier for me, but you don't have to use that if you don't want to. So to start off, what I'm going to do is roll out my contact paper onto the table so that it's nice and flat. This is where the tape is going to help me a little bit. Since it does roll quite so much, it'll just help hold it down for me. Once I have my contact paper all laid out, I'm going to go ahead and take my mason jar lids and trace them onto my paper. We're going to want to do it on the clear side so that when we peel off the back, we'll still be able to see where our circles are. And I'm going to do mine over here, kind of just on one side, because we are going to need to make doubles of all of our circles. So take my marker and I'm going to trace around the outside here. Don't worry if your lines aren't perfect. We are going to cut off the marker part eventually. Okay, so once my circles are drawn, you can see they're not perfect, but it's totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and cut them off from the rest of my paper. And then I'm going to actually flip my circles over and peel off this white part. So after I peel it, flip it over and tape it down, it should have the sticky side up. I'm going to re-tape this down just so that it doesn't move around right now. And then after this is the fun part, I'm going to go outside and find some nice nature-y items that I want to use to put in my sun catcher. So I might look for like some flowers so I can add some petals, maybe some cool looking leaves, some grass, some pine needles, anything I can find. Remember, we are going to respect nature, so don't go outside and cut your mom's flowers off or just start ripping things off trees. I'm going to try and look for things that are on the ground already, or things that look like they might need to be trimmed anyway, and go from there. So I'm going to gather all of my nature items to make my little sun catchers, and then I'm going to look for a pretty big stick that I'm going to use as the base for my wind chimes. So we're going to hang our sun catchers off of the stick, and then when it's windy outside, they'll make some pretty noise and we can hang them outside our house. So I'm going to go look for those items and I will be right back. So I went outside and I gathered some leaves, some needles from our pine tree we have out there. These leaves came from what I believe is a weed growing in the backyard, some flowers, and other things like that. And now what's next for me to do is just to figure out how I want to use my items to design my little sun catchers. So I think I'm going to put a little bit of my flowers in each one so I get some color, and then maybe some leaves in the background of that. Place and I feel like I'm happy with it and that I'm done, what I'm going to do next is take my extra contact paper from before, I'm going to roll it out, peel the back off, and stick it so that the sticky side goes right on top of the sticky side here. So both sticky sides will be touching. Once I've placed my contact paper, I'm going to want to smooth it out as much as possible so that my leaves and my flowers and all that is nice and flat. Once my paper is nice and smooth, I'm going to take my scissors and go ahead and cut around the circles, making sure that the edges are stuck together so it's nice and secure. Circles cut out, I'm gonna run my hands over them one more time to make sure that they're all smoothed out and the edges are stuck together. And then I'm gonna take my mason jar lids and I am going to fit them so that my circles fit inside. As you can see, they're a little big, so I'm gonna have to trim them a bit so that they fit down into there, but they should pop right in and then look like that when they're in there. Okay, so once my nature items are all placed in my jars, I'm going to take my string and cut it at varying lengths, and this is how my lids are going to hang off of my stick. I don't want mine all to be the exact same length, so I'm going to cut them slightly different. After I cut them, I'm just going to pop it through the top of my lid and tie it on. Pop my leaves and my flowers back in there. Tie it onto the stick that I gathered earlier. Alright, so after I get all of my lids tied on and I tie a string to the top, it should hang like this with all my little sun catchers hanging off of my stick. And then what I'm going to do is find a nice place to put it outside where I can display it and everybody can see and the wind can hit it, and when the wind hits it, our sun catchers will make a little noise and be wind chimes. Thanks for joining me today as we made some nature sun catcher wind chimes. I hope you guys had fun. Make sure you take pictures of them when you hang them up. I would love to see what you guys have created. Thanks for joining us for our last week of curbside camp. I hope that you guys had as much fun this summer as we did. Bye!